As people who desire to walk in covenant faithfulness to Yahuwah, we at Spirit and Truth continually seek to align every area of our lives, our worship, our choices, our homes, and even our fellowship with His set-apart ways. We do not pursue religion, tradition, or man-made culture. We desire obedience, truth, and a heart that honors Yahuwah in all things. In this season, many around us participate in celebrations and festivals that do not come from the Torah of Yahuah and are rooted in pagan practices. While many of us no longer take part in these festivals, some still feel uncertain about whether it is acceptable to eat food that has been prepared for these celebrations, especially when given by friends, family, or the community. This teaching is not shared to condemn, shame, or judge anyone. It is a call to discernment, maturity, and deeper set-apartness. It is an invitation to examine what we join ourselves to, what our participation communicates, and how our choices reflect our covenant identity in Yahushua. Our desire is to walk as a people who are truly set apart unto Yahuwah, not just in name, but in lifestyle, fellowship, and witness before others. I'm your host, Solomon Yochanan Kearns, and may Yahuwah give us understanding hearts, willing spirits, and courage to walk in His truth, even when it requires separation from what is familiar or culturally accepted. May everything we hear and consider today lead us closer to obedience, purity, and covenant integrity in Yahushua, our Messiah. As Torah-guarding believers, we are called to walk in set-apartness, not only in worship, but also in what we join ourselves to. Many believers avoid celebrating pagan festivals, yet still accept food prepared for them, believing it is harmless. But Scripture shows that eating from pagan celebrations is participation in the feast itself. And I'm speaking about the festivals such as Christmas, New Year's Day, Easter, Halloween, Thanksgiving, etc. It is not only about the food, it is about who it is prepared for and what it represents. You are to be perfect with Yahuwah, your Elohim, as we read in Deuteronomy chapter 18 verse 13. Beloved, our calling is not partial obedience, but covenant faithfulness. The Torah commands us not to mix with pagan worship. Yahuwah repeatedly warns Israel not to take part in the customs of the nations, even indirectly. Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 30 to 31 says, "Do not inquire about their mighty ones, saying, how did these nations serve their mighty ones? Let me do so too. Do not do so to Yahuwah your Elohim." Family, Yahuwah commands separation from anything connected to pagan worship. Exodus chapter 34 verses 13 to 14 says, "And you shall break down their altars and destroy their idols, for you shall not bow yourselves to another mighty one. Yahuwah further warns in Shemoth, Exodus 23, 32-33, make no covenant with them or with their mighty ones. They shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. Beloved, even indirect involvement leads to compromise. Yahuwah also commands in Exodus 23:13, and you shall guard all that I have said to you, and make no mention of the name of the mighty ones. Let it not be heard from your mouth. Receiving food from such celebrations, such as Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, New Year's Day, are shared fellowship with the event. You see, eating from pagan feasts is a form of participation. Now, when Moshe warned Israel about idols, he described eating from pagan sacrifices as joining oneself to that worship. Deuteronomy chapter 32, 16, verses 17, they provoke him with strange ones. With abominations they made him jealous. They slaughtered to demons, not Elohim. Meals in scripture carry covenant meaning. Israel fell into sin not only by worship, but by sharing festival meals with idol worshippers. Bamidbar, Numbers 25, chapter 1-2 says, and Israel dwelt in Shittim, and the people began to war with the daughters of Moab, and they invited the people to the slaughterings of their mighty ones, and the people ate and bowed themselves to their mighty ones. I want you to notice they ate first, then bowed. Eating food prepared on these days is participation of these festivals. Now Yahushua warned against compromise with pagan feasts. In Hazon, Revelation chapter 2 verses 20, Yahushua rebuked believers who continued to eat food linked to pagan worship. But I hold a few matters against you. You allow to teach my servants to commit whoring and to eat food offered to idols. He gave the same warning again in Revelation chapter 2 verses 14. So you also have those who hold the teaching to eat food offered to idols. This was not merely idol temples, it was social and family festival meals tied to pagan culture. Yahushua calls the spiritual adultery because it mixes covenant with Yahuwah with fellowship in pagan customs. He also said in Matthew chapter 6:24, no one is able to serve two masters. Beloved, participation creates allegiance. And therefore set apartness, keroshim, requires distinction. Yahuwah commands his people in Leviticus, Vayikra chapter 20 verse 26, and you shall be set apart to me, for I Yahuwah am set apart, and I have separated you from the peoples to be mine. Beloved, we are not called to be almost different. We are called to be distinct and uncompromised. Yahuwah warns you and me that mixing with pagan customs leads hearts astray. Mishlei, Proverbs 22:25 says, lest you learn their ways and it becomes a snare to you. Even if the family means well, even if the food looks innocent, even if it feels cultural, the root of the feast remains pagan. And scripture says clearly in Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 17, and this verse is echoed in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verses 20. What is offered to idols is offered to demons. What comes from the altar of pagan celebration does not become clean through prayer, because our witness matters. Many believe that we can just pray over food and it will be sanctified and it's okay. That is not what scripture teaches us. We are ambassadors of Yahushua. Matthew chapter 5 verse 16 says, let your light so shine before men. Beloved, when we accept food from these pagan festivals like Christmas and Easter and New Year's or Thanksgiving, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, it communicates, I do not celebrate it, but I still share in it. This confuses weaker believers and children, even your own children. Shaul warned, it is good not to eat if it causes your brother to stumble, in Romans chapter 14:21. Instead, beloved, we are called to come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins. In Revelation chapter 18 verse 4, set apartness is not isolation. Set apartness, beloved, is refusing fellowship with what dishonors Yahuah and violates his Torah. Paul warned the Corinthians about sharing in pagan festival meals. Now you have to understand that Corinth was a city filled with pagan feasts, temple meals, and festival gatherings. Very similar today. Christmas, Easter, New Year social meals, Thanksgiving, etc. Believers were taught, we don't worship the idols, we are only eating the food. And that's many people today. Oh, I don't celebrate Christmas, but I'm just enjoying my family. Oh, I don't celebrate Easter. It's all about family. Beloved, Revelation chapter 18:4 says, come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins. Do not partake of what they do. Paul confronts this mindset directly. He explained that eating from pagan feasts creates spiritual fellowship with what the feast honors. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10:16 he says, the cup of blessing which we bless, is it not a sharing in the blood of Messiah? The bread that we break, is it not a sharing in the body of Messiah? He shows that meals are covenantal participation. But then he goes further in the same chapter 10, in 4 verses later, in verse 20, and he says, then he warns, he says, what the nations offer, they offer to demons and not to Elohim. And I do not want you to become sharers with demons. Shaul is not saying the food itself is magical. He is saying the fellowship of the meal carries spiritual meaning. And he continues in the next verse, in verse 21. You are not able to drink the cup of the master and the cup of demons. You are not able to partake of the table of the master and of the table of demons. This is the exact issue with pagan festival food. It is 2 tables, 2 fellowships, 2 allegiances. Even if someone says, I don't believe in the festival, I'm just eating, Shaul says the act itself brings participation. He then cautions, all things are permitted, but not all things build up. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 23. Meaning, just because food exists does not mean every context is acceptable for covenant people. And you may say, oh, but it's only leftovers that I'm eating, I've been given leftovers from my family and I don't have to cook. It's so convenient. Beloved, Paul concludes with the wisdom for our witness. Whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the esteem of Elohim. 1 Corinthians chapter 10:31. So eating from these pagan festivals and feasts does not bring esteem to Yahuwah because it creates mixed fellowship. It compromises your witness. How are you going to witness and testify to your family members, to friends, to your community who needs to come onto this way if you partaking and compromising in these meals? Shaul confirms pagan festival meals is covenant participation because meals carry spiritual fellowship and we cannot share 2 tables. Our set apartness, beloved, requires distinction. Beloved, as we close, let us examine our hearts. Let us pause for a minute. Every meal, every choice, every moment is an opportunity to declare allegiance, either to Yahuwah or to the ways of the nations. Even the simplest things like what we eat carry spiritual weight. Ask yourself honestly, am I joining in fellowship with what dishonors Yahuwah? Am I compromising my set-apart identity for comfort, approval, or convenience? Am I choosing obedience over culture, covenant over tradition? Shaul reminds us, all things are permitted, but not all things build up. Whether you eat or drink, do all to the esteem of Elohim. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, 23 and 31. Beloved, walking in Torah truth is not always popular. It may challenge our families, friends, and society. But Yahushua calls us to be set apart in spirit, mind, and body. Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins. Today, consider the meals you share, the traditions you accept, and the fellowship you allow. Let your choices reflect covenant loyalty, not compromise. May Yahuwah grant us courage to stand apart, walk in truth, and honor His name in every act, knowing that our obedience is a light to those around us and a testimony of our love for Him. What table will you sit at today? The table of Yahuwah or the table of the nations?